You're watching the Tuesday edition of Market View right here on Eswatini TV. I am Natalie Sitole. Welcome to the program. Our focus today is the 58th edition of the Eswatini International Trade Fair that just got launched a couple of hours ago, to be specific. Now, this is the country's premier investment platform for trade and business networking. This year's theme highlights the growing importance of sustainability in business, with a focus on green finance, innovation, and responsible trade practices. Now, one of the key priorities is greater participation of the private sector, particularly MSMEs. In addition to that, APA has maintained exhibition rates for the second year in a row to ensure that cost does not become a barrier to participation for local MSMEs. And certainly, now that the countdown begins, we'll speak to Sibusiso Mnisi, who is APA's Manager External Trade Promotion, for more on this platform for business growth. But first, our business stories. In our business news, we'll begin with this. The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority has announced that exhibition rates for this year's International Trade Fair will not be increased for the second year in a row. This was shared by the Chief Executive Officer, Eswatini Mngomezulu, speaking at the launch of the trade fair, which will be held from the 28th of August to the 6th of September at Mavuso Trade and Exhibition Center in Manzini. The trade fair was officially announced by the Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, who was represented by the Principal Secretary, Melusi Masugu.
The theme for this year's International Trade Fair is unlocking green economy opportunities for sustainable trade promotion. This theme is a call to action. We thus urge all exhibitors, from SMEs and large corporations to government bodies, to showcase their environmental, social, and governance frameworks. We want to demonstrate to the world that the Kingdom of Eswatini operates with the highest standards of ethics, transparency, and social responsibility. Throughout the fair, we will use our seminars and media platforms to go beyond mere compliance. We will unpack the real opportunities within the green ecosystem, discussing circular economy practices, recycling, upcycling, and green finance. These discussions reaffirm our commitment to sustainable production and consumption.
Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority's Chief Executive Officer, Eswatini Mngomezulu, speaks about this year's trade fair's vision, which is hinged on accessibility and growth.
As the Investment Promotion Authority, the EITF wants increased private sector participation. We want to ensure greater foreign participation. After all, it is an international trade fair. We also want to ensure that we make it possible for our MSMEs that are growing to participate in the trade fair. And to that end, we will not be increasing our exhibition rates for a second year in a row. So we want to ensure that cost is not a barrier to entry. And we want to ensure that our exhibitors are given the space and they're given an opportunity to network.
Manager External Trade Promotion at Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, Sibusiso Mnisi, says applications for the Eswatini International Trade Fair on the app started on the 25th of March and the deadline is on June 25. This is the 58th edition as the trade fair started in 1968. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Manzini.
30 micro, small and medium enterprises have received training on intellectual property rights to strengthen their business competitiveness and market readiness. Speaking during the training session held at Eswatini, International Trade Centre's micro, small and medium enterprise expert Theophilus Lamini said the participating businesses are market ready and poised for growth.
For the past 5 years, the International Trade Centre, working with funding from the EU, and together with the government of Eswatini has developed some products amongst the MSMEs that we work with. And those products now are at a level where they are market ready. And as such, we need to ensure that they have their respective intellectual property rights bestowed upon those creators of those products. And so this training is basically to ensure that MSMEs fully understand what intellectual property rights exist and how they can actually go through in terms of registering those rights and ensuring that they have the intellectual property rights bestowed upon them so that they can fully exploit the benefits of those developments that they already have in the market.
Participants say intellectual property is key as some of them are now exporting as far as France. They say that if their products have intellectual property rights and trademarks, they will not be copied.
ITC, like in most of our products are international, transported to both France. So we know even in France, if you can go there, as much as Ukamga from another country, you will simply just point out, this is from Swaziland, it's from Master Artworks in Eswatini.
That has helped us because it has given us just the ideas behind how to operate the business. First and foremost, any thought that you have, you need to document that so that you are able to protect your idea. So lama trainings lawa sega sisite also to point out different agencies like Angwane that help us in terms of how to trademark our companies, how to trademark our ideas, how to patent that.
The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade states that intellectual property is vital for Eswatini as it transforms intangible ideas into bankable financial assets. The ministry says by protecting innovations, brands and creative works, intellectual property enables local businesses to scale, empowers Eswatini to monetize their talent globally, and supports the country's drive towards a knowledge-based economy. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Ezulwini.
And that is your business brief. After the break, we speak to APA on the 58th edition of the Eswatini International Trade Fair.
To all the viewers of Eswatini TV in the kingdom and beyond. Eswatini TV is regulated by the Eswatini Communications Commission through the Broadcasting Code and Broadcasting Guidelines. Under these instruments, the station commits to broadcasting information and news that have been fact-checked, programs and content in respectful language with no elements of hate speech, violence or sexual activity. If you hear any unsuitable content on this channel, you have a right to voice your complaints with the station management. Should you not be satisfied with the response or action taken, you can escalate your matter to the Communications Commission at PO Box 7811 Babani. Call 2406 7000 or send an email to info@esccom.org.za. For more information, visit www.esccom.org.za.
Welcome back and moving on with the program. The Eswatini International Trade Fair will take place from the 28th of August to the 6th of September, marking its 58th edition. This year's event is held under the theme Unlocking Green Economy Opportunities for Sustainable Trade Promotion, which seeks to highlight innovative and environmentally conscious approaches to trade and economic development. Today's discussion focuses on the overall organization and logistics of the fair, including how various stakeholders will participate and engage throughout the event. We're now joined by Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority's Manager, External Trade Promotion, Sibusiso Mnisi, to unpack how the trade fair will be run this year and to give insight into its planning and execution. Mnisi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. So perhaps the theme is a good place to start this conversation. It says unlocking green economy opportunities for sustainable trade promotion. Given this theme, what business opportunities does APA expect local companies to tap into in alignment with the theme?
Yeah, no, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to talk about EITF. Yes, indeed, the theme was launched today by the ministry, and it's focusing on issues of green economy and issues of sustainability. So what we are saying here is that there are a lot of opportunities, as you have said, that our businesses can look forward to. We particularly, during the launch, the PS highlighted that, you know, for a long time, we've been relying on the traditional form of business opportunities. Yet when you go to the green economy, you find that there is what you call recycling, for instance. You find that there are a lot of eco-friendly businesses that you can start up, and you find that there is also upcycling. On recycling, I think we've got a very good example that is currently happening in the country. I think the glassware industry in Ngwenya, it could be one example where you've got people collecting products that have been disposed in terms of bottles and then making those products to a new product, you know, transforming them to a new product, which we are selling overseas. And we have also seen a lot of locals that are venturing into what we call upcycling, where you take a product again, which has been disposed, you add a bit of value to it, and then you're able to find a niche market. So what we're saying here is, for instance, as APA, we have the textile industry that is producing a lot of waste, and we are looking for businesses to come forward to say that waste can be transformed into an industry or into whatever product that we can sell locally or even export. The market for such products, we can say that it is there, and both in the region and especially in overseas countries, they are really looking forward to importing goods that have been made, you know, using the sustainable production processes.
Fair enough. I appreciate you highlighting just some of the industries that APA will be aggressively targeting to ensure that they showcase products or that local MSMEs participate in aligning with the green economy at the expo, or rather at the International Trade Fair this year. The good news is APA did announce that there's been a freezing or maintenance of exhibition rates for a second round or second consecutive year. How much does this reduce the cost burden on especially MSMEs in terms, you know, considering what it takes to operate as a business, considering inflation as well?
Yeah, and of course, considering the times that we are in currently, you know, that we have seen a first round effect of increase in prices in terms of fuel. And one will expect that there will be a second round effect even in other services. So for us, what we have said is that we need to have more micro, small, medium enterprises being part of the event, and the non-increase even in 2026, you know, is just speaking to that, because we are trying to also be an inclusive event, an event that will not target the elite. but make sure that we bring in the youth, we bring in women businesses, and of course, other key stakeholders, to exhibit, because the trade fair is for them. They have to get the opportunity to showcase and also get the opportunity, especially to sell. We work with a lot of vendors at the trade fair. They provide a service. We work with a lot of youth because we are very intentional. So all of these businesses, when you effect an increase, it really affects, their participation. You will find that maybe you will have largely the bigger companies coming in and not having your own SMEs. Yet the mandate and the role of AITF is to be an inclusive event, one that will leave no one behind.
Speaking of inclusive, in his address, APA CEO Sibani Mngomezulu, he advocated for the aggressive or the greater participation of private sector. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, private sector, look, it's a trade fair, it's an international trade fair. It's precisely for the private sector. The platform is seeking to showcase our innovation, new products, to link up with potential trading partners, where you can source products from other countries or link up with potential buyers, that will come to the event and be able to export. So what we are saying is more of the private sector participation will be very much, appreciated, particularly when you look at the fact that, over the years, we started off with having a lot of maybe public sector, but then the numbers are going down and we are seeing more. And that's why we are saying for EITF 2026, we're going to give more space to the private sector. And it's one of the reasons why we're saying that we cannot then increase the rates, because we know that they are feeling the pinch, from other challenges that they are facing in the economy. As we said, the first round effect of fuel is going to have a hit, on their expenses. So we're trying to ensure everyone is part of the event.
Looking back at the 57th edition, which was actually hosted last year, the fair attracted 282 exhibitors. More than 22 of them were foreign participants and more than 70,000 visitors. Let's look into 2026. What are some of the targets or in terms of exhibitor numbers, in terms of international participation and attendance?
Yeah, you said it well. We are focusing on the international participation because, again, we are emphasizing that it's an international trade fair. So we need to see a lot of foreign businesses coming in, a lot of foreign governments coming in, to promote their businesses. But also, our target is to ensure that we increase the numbers and again, our strategic partnership, with people like PLE and 8Bet, who are sponsoring the 8Bet Trade Fair Cup. We think we are getting very good results because they bring what we call sports tourism. We then get the spillover in terms of the fans that will be coming to watch football and then also get a chance to see the exhibition. So this is what is increasing the numbers. So the target really is increasing foreign participation in terms of exhibitors exhibiting and also increasing foreign participation in terms of visitors. You will note that the trade fair is also an event that I would say it provides a platform for a government-to-government, engagement through the official opening. So again, during that event, you get to see a lot of foreign officials coming into Eswatini. So we want to leverage on that as well and say, let's bring in the international aspect of the event, have more foreign companies coming in, and then using that to then link up with our local businesses.
Now that the international trade fair has been launched, it's up to the MSMEs to then action or they ensure that they participate. What next? What are the next steps? I understand that registration for exhibition is currently open until June, if I'm correct. What next? What follows after this?
Yeah, so from now we are saying things are open, you can start applying. In fact, the app was activated some weeks, 3 weeks ago, and already we are seeing a lot of applications coming through. So what we are saying is people can apply, take note of the deadlines, you apply through the app, you make your payment. What we can guarantee you is that we work on a very transparent, process, one that is saying it's a first come, first serve. So we can't take someone who has maybe applied, after you. So if you apply, we give you a priority and then you pay for your stand and then give you allocation. But obviously, as we said, we are going to push more of being inclusive and ensure that, the private sector, our SMEs, they are coming on board. And one must just say that the call in today's event was that let's also try to bring in the green initiatives that, the different stakeholders have, be it that you're a company, be it that you're a government, be it that you're an NGO, anyone who will be coming to the trade fair. Let's just have a discussion. Let's have activations. Let us ensure that we fully engage, on this topic so that we see where we are as a country and we make our contribution, to the issues of climate change.
Fair enough, Mnisi. Thank you very much for talking to us. That was Sibusiso Mnisi, a Buzz External Trade Promotion Manager. We're just unpacking the 58th edition of the Eswatini International Trade Fair that has just been launched today. Actually, we'll cross over to in-house economist Anele Sibia after this.
Live selikhulile la kaNgwane. Live la kaNgwane belinalo ligama lele livele likhona mandulo. Kepha ke kwahamba kwabonakala ukuthi live liyashintsha litoze likhone kubonakala ukuthi libitike kahle kwase kuthiwa iSwaziland. Emaveke onke lebekanawo lamagama lefanana nalela lakithi ase abuyela egameni lemlando nathi ke laSwatini sinalo ligama bekunene kwekuthi live leSwatini useSwatini namuhla ke sithi asikumemetele ukuthi sekutawuvele kiko konke la kubhaliswa khona uvele kusale kubhaliswa ukuthi sekuseswatini njoba singemaswati nje singabe sibita ligama lesingede salikhona nekulibita kahle bogogo nalabo bomkhulu abangakatholi lithuba babe solo bashwambuluta ukuthi sesitawuvule sadiwe ngekuthi silive leSwatini kungasasilo leSwaziland bekunene.
Welcome back. For our market analysis, in-house economist Anele Sibia joins us virtually. Mr. Sibia, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. So we are seeing a combination of higher energy costs and rather stronger dollar. Well, the dollar is actually proving to be firmer versus the lilangeni. Could you just perhaps give us the picture here? How are actually things looking, given that we do have this story on Iran proving on rather filtering into inflation? We also do have tech earnings coming out this week. How are things looking?
Thank you, Notsile. Good afternoon to you, and also good afternoon to the viewer. So with the markets, there is quite of a mixed mood in terms of, the tech rally, which seems to be, taking a bit of a step back because, that there's also movement on that inflationary front with the 10-year bond yield at its highest. And then also we are seeing, some positive news coming out of Iran. We don't know if to take them as positive news yet, but the markets have not significantly priced those in as positive news. If you look at the price and movements of Brent crude, in the sense that, we saw President Trump coming out to say we are expectant of, a peace deal, with Iran offering more plausible terms, going forward. So we are looking forward to whether we're going to get a peace deal or not. So starting with the US, the Dow Jones Industrial Average continues to rally very close to those all-time highs, gaining 159.95 points in today's trade. Nasdaq Composite Index down 134.41 points, and the Standard & Poor's Index down 5.5 points. So overall, what we're seeing is markets showing this mixed sentiments. One, driven by the fact that we're expecting, inflation pressures are still in the market, in the sense that the 10-year Treasury bond yield is a bit up. And then in terms of what we're seeing in the Nasdaq and the S&P 500, we're seeing a pullback in terms of the tech stocks there because of the pressure on consumers that we see that is being exerted by that movement in terms those movements in terms of the 10-year Treasury yield. And then coming into the European markets, we're seeing, some positive reaction to the news that potentially we are going to see a ceasefire. London is up 69 points, Frankfurt is up 325 points, and Paris is up 66 points in today's trade. Now, that's largely driven by the fact that we are seeing the news coming out of Washington, and also the strong indication of, resilient U.S. economy with that upward increase, and, cooling off in the labor markets now that puts a bit of, puts the pressure off of the Bank of England's, interest rate trajectory going forward. So there is a bit of positive sentiment in the market, but it does still remain subdued. And then when we look into the Asian markets, again, we're seeing a bit of a depression in Japan, with the Nikkei there losing 265 points in today's trade, and the Hang Seng gaining 122 points, and the Shanghai Composite Index gaining some 38 points there. So now what we're seeing there is the reaction of the Japanese stocks to the fuel price. Brent crude is above the $110 per barrel mark. And in terms of the Hang Seng and the Shanghai Composite Index, so now that's just basically a correction and a rebalancing there. But there's still quite a lot of headwinds that exist internally within Shanghai, within mainland China. But we're seeing the impact of those tech stocks earnings there, signaling that within the Chinese economy, we do expect, a bit of stimulus to come in, given the fact that there is subdued manufacturing output. So that's what markets are pricing in. Coming into Johannesburg, we're seeing Johannesburg reacting rather positively to the news that are coming out of the US there, in terms of a potential ceasefire deal being on the table. Johannesburg is up 123 points in today's trade, back on that 15,000 overall share volume level, being driven by strong performance within the financials, and also saw that hope around a ceasefire. Eswatini remains relatively stable at 493.16 in terms of overall share volumes, with no movements there. And then in terms of the commodities, gold is down 14.3 points, and then Brent crude is down 1.45 points in today's trade. So what we're seeing here is markets are still looking and pricing in heavily an interest rate hike going forward. Now, that is significant and signaled in the movements in the price of gold. gold is trading on average around the $4,500 per ounce mark. And, because we do expect that shift towards those interest-bearing assets. And Brent crude still hasn't given us the response that we're hoping for, given the news that are coming out of Washington. We expected that to come down very close to the 105, 104 mark, and then eventually below that level, the 100 level. But I think until the markets get clear signals in terms of what is happening with regarding that peace deal, then we are still seeing Brent crude staying at that level. In terms of the currencies, we are relatively on a weaker position, trading at 16.64 against the dollar, 19.34 against the euro, and one lilangeni gets to 9.56 Japanese yen. So right now, it is all that instability that is contributing to the weaker currency. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spear. Economist Analyst Spear coming through with insights on the day's trade. Otherwise, this has been Market View, the Tuesday edition. From myself and the gang, thank you so much for your company. Until next time, bye-bye.